All right, hello. So I just recorded this, but it did not save my voice recording, so I'm going to do it again. Definitely getting off to the right start. Technology is not my strong suit, and I apologize about that. It's a little late. I planned on having this up a little while ago, but obviously it's a bit delayed. So today, this lecture is going to be about 30 minutes. It's just going to cover sort of what's on the syllabus and then sort of a general sort of explanation of what different areas of philosophy are and sort of what philosophy is about. So here's a bit about me. My name is Stephen Luke Winberry. I go by my middle name. You can call me Mr. Winberry. You can call me Luke. Either's fine. Just one of those things. I don't have a doctorate, so you don't have to call me Dr. Winberry. I only have a master's. So I completed my undergraduate studies at the University of Memphis and my MA at Texas Tech University. My email is swinberry@cbu.edu. I will respond to your emails within 24 hours, unless it's the weekend. Also, like if you email me at 11 o'clock at night, odds are I'm not going to respond until the next day. I used to give out my phone number to students, but I don't because I started getting texts in the middle of the night. And I just don't do that anymore because and I would get random calls and it's a pain. So other students ruined that opportunity. So I'm sorry. No, office hours, they are scheduled right now from 10 to 11 on Tuesdays or by appointment. I prefer that you reach out to me and we even if it is during my office hours, just so I can be completely prepared. I do have a bit of a hectic life, but I will meet with you and we can figure something out. They will be online for the entirety of the semester, just because CBU, even if we do go back in person, I'm not going to have an office on campus. So it'll be through Zoom, but I'll email you a Zoom link to meet up with me. Okay. So about the class, this class is basically an ethics course, except like the last bit of material that we will cover, hopefully if we make it to that material. I do have a lot on the schedule. We're going to sort of start by surveying 7 moral theories, and then we're going to just spend most of the semester covering arguments that are made about contentious moral issues that have been made by historical and contemporary philosophers. I'll say this repeatedly, but the first few weeks of class are going to be really important for your success for the entirety of the semester. This is because the learning requirements in CBU, they require me to teach you how to apply moral theories to moral topics. So moral issues like abortion, euthanasia, stuff like that. You're going to be required to know some moral theories and be able to provide arguments about these really contentious issues. That is the point of this class. That is 100% what you will be graded on, and your success for the class will depend on your ability to do that. So think about these moral theories as a sort of tool belt. You're going to be sort of required to use these moral theories to evaluate and provide arguments on moral issues. So it's going to be very, 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 very important that you understand these moral theories. You will not succeed in this class if you don't do this. I will repeat this a lot, but it's going to be very important that you know these moral theories. Okay. So here are the course objectives. This is just from syllabus. A lot of the next few slides just come straight from the syllabus. So to successfully complete this course, you're going to get a gen ed requirement for one thing, but you're going to need to demonstrate an understanding of accepted ethical principles and their applicability in making moral and ethical judgments. That's literally what I just said sort of last slide, but rephrased. You're going to have to apply moral theories to moral issues. That is what this class is about. That is what you will be graded on. So do well. really, I'm just going to say it again. Knowing these moral theories and how they work is going to be very important. So also, this will hopefully improve your ability to analyze, write critically about, discuss issues related to morality and contemporary applied ethics. This is hopefully what you walk away with this class being able to do if you do well. This is one of the good things about moral philosophy is you can critically think about issues better than people that tend not take philosophy courses. Not lastly, but next, reason logically to unearth and avoid fallacious arguments. So we're going to be going over sort of informal logic next class period. I'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. But this is another one of the good things about philosophy is it sort of instills in you, even if you never take a logic class specifically, but it's sort of like helps train your brain to think logically and to understand how things follow from another thing. So we're going to be doing that a lot. We're going to be analyzing a lot of arguments. That's sort of like one of the things we do in philosophy. And this will hopefully instill in you sort of this ability to like on your feet critically think and critically analyze arguments. We're going to respectfully debate contentious moral topics such as abortion, euthanasia. I don't know if we're going to do climate change this semester, but we'll do gun rights. We'll do a lot of sort of these like these moral issues that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on. And if we go back in person, we're going to be respectful to one another. If we do discussion posts, we're going to be respectful to one another. You don't have to think that somebody's right to be nice. So you're going to be nice. If we're arguing in class, we're not going to yell at each other. We're going to sit down and sort of have a boring conversation and boring argument about these things. But that's sort of the beauty of philosophy is, being able to be calm about issues where a lot of people's sort of passions, get flared up. So be respectful. That's sort of I will throw you out of class if you're disrespectful to other students or myself. Fail. so be respectful. Lastly, just gain a basic understanding of the dominant trends in applied ethics. This is going to be important, I think, in your life, but hopefully you'll be able to, after this semester, say, oh, this is a consequentialist argument, or oh, this is like a Kantian argument, something like that. I will say, like, of the 7 moral theories we're going to cover, 4 of them are pretty popular, 3 of them less so, but there is contemporary work in all of these fields. So it will be it'll be important to know these, but it'll also sort of carry over, hopefully, to the rest of your life, or especially if you end up taking more philosophy classes. So about the class, again, there's no textbook. I will be posting all the readings to Canvas, or they're available online through URLs. I just prefer not to use textbooks if I can, because money is a thing I know for a lot of people. I mean, it's a thing for everybody, but some people have less of it than others. So I try to give free resources when I can. We will be using, so for the URLs, there's a few articles that I'll use URLs for, but mostly they'll be links to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So that's sort of like the unofficial textbook, I guess. It's a really good resource, and I highly recommend it for people doing philosophy. It's written by contemporary philosophers that are like experts in their field. If they're writing an entry on it for the SAP, I mean, their peer review is really hard. They find people to write these things. They seek them out. It's a great resource. So I do assign a lot of stuff there. So grades, this is probably what you care most about. I'm going to talk a little bit just about grades. So 20% is going to be participation in attendance. You can basically think 10% for either. So if this were a normal semester, it would, mean you show up on time, you stay for the entirety of class, and you like say 1 or 2 things in discussion every time we have one. That's how you would get 20%. Since this is going to be online the first 2 weeks, hopefully only the first 2 weeks, you're going to fulfill this requirement by taking some shorter online quizzes and perhaps discussion posts. I'm just going to sort of see where we are, whichever one I choose to do. But there'll be a syllabus quiz for one thing. Also, there'll be a quiz sort of on informal logic. These aren't going to be like pop quizzes like I give out throughout the semester. These are just because we're online. This is the way it's going to be. So I will say those count for participation and attendance. Obviously, if we do go back to being in person, you cannot participate if you don't attend. So if you sort of disappear halfway throughout the semester, like you'll get sort of 5% for attendance, but also probably 5% for participation. They're sort of integrally linked to one another because you have to attend to participate. So quizzes, there'll be 5 pop quizzes, not counting the syllabus quiz or any of the sort of little quizzes that they give you the first 2 weeks throughout the semester. You should think about these as sort of like gauging how well you're retaining the information in terms of like exams. Oftentimes, like quizzes have the same questions that exams have. So if you're doing sort of poorly on these quizzes, you should make sure to really study for these exams. I also may have more quizzes. 5 is just like a rough estimate of the amount I think we'll have, but we'll see as we move through the semester. So there is a mistake on the syllabus in regards to the final paper. I think it says 20% on the syllabus I sent out. I'm going to change it and send out a new version, but it's actually worth 30%. I'll talk about that. There are also 2 exams. So the first, they'll sort of be given at like 1/3 of the way done with the course, and then 2/3 done with the course. The exams are a little, I mean, they're real exams. They're sort of difficult. They are, and you can make an A. I've had plenty of students make A's on them, but all those students they studied, and I could tell they studied. They went through the study guide that I give out, and they filled it out, and they knew what they were talking about. So I don't do curves. I don't do extra credit. These exams are doable, but you will need to prepare for them. If you just show up sort of blindly to them, odds are you won't do as well as you would if you studied. Lastly, we have a final paper. It's going to be 4 to 6 pages. It'll be due sort of at the end of the semester. Everything on the syllabus. This is, by the time you write this paper, you'll have a better idea of my expectations for philosophical writing. It's going to be sort of in the same form as your essay portion of the exams are going to be. It's just going to be a little bit more in depth. And we'll talk about that more as it approaches. I will say this too, since I'm on this slide. If we do go back into in person, I don't mind if students are on their laptops. I don't mind if you look at your phone here and there. I mean, obviously, if you're just on your phone the entire time, you're not going to get any participation credit. I do allow this, knowing full well that like a lot of students play Tetris and check emails and do work for other classes. But this is sort of personal responsibility. I don't do extra credit. I don't do curves. If you pay attention in the class and you do the work and you read the material, you're probably going to make an A. If you sit on your laptop and don't pay attention, you're not going to make an A. It's sort of on you. I allow these resources and these tools. I mean, they're basically distractions. And I know at least half the students with a laptop out aren't paying attention. But this is just a warning. Personal responsibility. If you want to sit in class on your computer and not pay attention, that's fine. You're just not going to do as well as you would if you would have just paid attention. That's sort of my piece on that. I don't police students. I don't believe in that. You're adults. Make your decisions and live with the consequences of your So here's a little bit more about attendance. If we do go back in person, you will be required to attend each class and you'll be expected to. Unexcused absences will result in a loss of participation points. I don't report attendance to Bannerweb after the first 2 weeks, but I do. I know who shows up and who doesn't show up. Just familiar faces. That's just the way it works. If you are going to miss anything or any classes, please let me know. I'm very willing to work with you, but you have to let me know. I had students that sort of disappear halfway through the semester because they have a crazy life. And that's fine. I understand things happen. It's hard out there for some people, and I'm willing to work with you, but you have to like show up. Also, like if your life is crazy enough that you can't make it to class for half the semester, you should probably drop the class. I can't pass you if you don't, if you're unable to make requirements. You need to be able to meet these requirements. So please just let me know. You have to give me details, but I'm very willing to work with students. Just you have to keep me informed. I don't chase students. You're adults. That's a common theme in my teaching style. You have to come to me and say, hey, I need some help. Excused absences if you have an athletic competition or you have COVID or an emergency, like I'm fine with excusing your absence. I'll work with you. I can send slides. We can meet, whatever. Just let me know. Just keep me posted. That's what really matters. All right, plagiarism. So it's defined as taking another person's ideas and passing them off as your own. It's sort of copying ideas on your essay from an online or print resource without acknowledging that it comes from that. Purchasing papers online, having a friend write your essay, recycling an essay from a different course. These all count as plagiarism. Being on your phone during an exam, I swear to God, if you're on your phone during an exam, you will fail that exam. I don't care if like TikTok or you just got a message from somebody or Snap. I don't care. Like I can't stand that. You will fail. I swear if I see a phone during an exam, like you will fail. I promise you. Don't do it. Turn it off, put it in your phone or put it in your bag. I don't care. Do not be on your phone. That's just like a pet peeve of mine. Sort of on that note, it's not tolerated whatsoever. I do report students. I think cheating is horrible, especially in college. You should not be in college if you're going to be cheating. In my opinion, it's unfair to the rest of the students. It's unfair to the instructor. I have to go through a lot of stuff if I catch somebody cheating. It makes everybody's life more difficult. Do not do it. I have no patience, no tolerance, zero. Just do not cheat. It's also a course in moral philosophy. Don't be that person that cheats in a moral philosophy course. Like that is so bad, especially if it does get reported, which it will get reported. It will be on your academic record. And if you try to go to like law school, nursing school, or something like that, they will see that you cheated in a moral philosophy course. It's not a good look. Don't do it. It is better to fail, because you don't know something than to try to pass by cheating. Just do not do it. Cannot say this enough. Do not do it. Catch somebody every semester cheating. Don't want to do it this semester. Do not cheat. Please, for your own sake and for my sake, do not cheat. Disability statement. If you are a student with a disability, please let me know. Any accommodations you need, I'm perfectly willing to make. You just have to let me know. This is, of course, the slide is assuming we go back in person. Basically, if CBU doesn't cancel class, we will be having class. That's just the way it is. Odds are we'll just take the day off. I do have in the syllabus a built-in day, just like as a catch-up day. But if CBU does not cancel classes, we will be having class unless you get another email from me, which you'll get probably like 7 a.m. If it snows or something like that. You will be counted as absent if CBU's. If I'm there and you're not there, you'll be counted as absent unless you have like a good excuse. Just a note on email etiquette. Do an opening salutation. Swinberry, give me background information on what your problem is, or whatever your issue is. You can tell me like what you've tried to do to like, to learn whatever you're struggling with or fix your issue. That's fine. But basically just give me like a full description of the problem. Give me a salutation, write in complete sentences, use grammar, sign it at the bottom. Like this is just basic adulting. Be able to adult well. I'm not going to grade you because your emails are sort of more informal or anything like that, but just be respectful, be an adult. You're all grown-ups. This is part of it, part of life. Knowing how to write sort of a succinct and formal email. Please do that. All right, so I'm going to spend the sort of remainder of this video talking about different areas of philosophy. So I guess we can start off by asking sort of what is philosophy? If you've ever been to like Barnes and Nobles, you've probably seen a philosophy section. And I'll just go ahead and say like most of that is not philosophy. So anything that does with like tarot or astrology or mythical stuff, that's not really philosophy. That's mysticism. And people sort of have these big notions that philosophy is like that, and it's not. It's hard to define it because it's evolved so much throughout human history, and there's so many different areas in philosophy. But it's sort of an intellectual discipline that deals with like fundamental and foundational issues for things that sort of concern human existence. So, for instance, human nature, the nature of the universe, the nature of like values, like so whether something's good or bad. Logic is just a fundamental part of philosophy. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. Like things that deal with knowledge. It's a very philosophy itself is a very general, but there's a lot of subfields that people actually do work in. But it's a very, very broad field. There's a lot in it. But I will say it's not mysticism. It's not history. So like in your papers, I don't necessarily care if you're talking about euthanasia, like the history of euthanasia. I think it's interesting, and I do talk about it a little bit in the lectures. But like philosophy itself is not history. Philosophical writing is not the same sort of writing you do in English classes. So it's not grandiose. You don't use big flowery language. It's sort of the more boring it is, the better. That's just a tip that I tell people. Philosophy is boring. It sort of needs to be boring, and because it's a very careful discipline. Because we're analyzing, we're being critical about very fundamental issues, and being boring. I guess that's the way I like to think of it. Being boring sort of helps preserve that nuance and to help us be critical about things. Okay. All right. So there are three general areas in sort of contemporary philosophy. This is sort of, I may explain this later. There's two sort of general approaches to contemporary philosophy called the analytic, sort of the Anglo-analytic tradition and the continental tradition. I'm not going to go too in depth into this, but most of the stuff we'll be reading is in sort of the Anglo-analytic tradition. It's not to say continental philosophy isn't good. It's just less robust in terms of like moral philosophy. Continental thinkers tend to do different things than like strictly moral philosophy, which is where we're going to be spending most of our time on. As to say, moving back to what I was saying earlier, there are three general areas. So it's called metaphysics and epistemology. We call that M&E. Second, there's logic. Third, there's value theory. And I'm just going to sort of cover these for the rest of the lecture and just sort of like try to lay out sort of the conceptual space that we're going to be in this semester. So metaphysics and epistemology. These areas are taken together these days because they deal with like pretty much what most people think are the most fundamental questions. So metaphysics asks questions like what exists, how does it exist, what is the nature of its existence. It also deals with like categorizing things like substances, arguments about God's existence and non-existence. So for instance, like the Big Bang Theory is like a metaphysical theory. Atomic theory is a metaphysical theory. If you're a theist and you believe in God, that is a metaphysical position because you're saying, you're giving answers to like what exists and how they exist. That's sort of what metaphysics is all about. Contemporary metaphysics is kind of mathy. It's very complicated, but going back to like Aristotle, it was a little bit more simple. So there's sort of a divide between classic and contemporary metaphysics, and that's just because you have the influence of like formal systems like of logic that they just did not have in antiquity. Moving on, epistemology. This is sort of the field of or the area of philosophy that deals with knowledge. So it asks questions like, what is the nature of knowledge? Can we have true knowledge? And so how can we have true knowledge? This also includes sort of like subfields like social epistemology, which we are going to look at a little bit. I think epistemology is super interesting. We won't be spending that much time on it just this semester because this is primarily an ethics class, but just know that this is a huge field in contemporary philosophy. All right, logic. So logic is sort of the second general area of philosophy. It's the mathiest. That's the way I like to think about it. And it examines the way that like truth can be preserved through syntactic rules. It sort of analyzes how true statements can lead to other true statements. That's sort of the simplest explanation of it. There are two branches of logic. Firstly, there's what's called formal, which is very, very mathy. I mean, if you're good at math, you'll be good at formal logic. You basically build up a formal language where you can do proofs and like analyze how truth is preserved through like syntactic rules. So you basically like translate everyday sentences into like this formal language, and then you see how you can like manipulate symbols and rules and assumptions into getting you to like a true conclusion and like what it would take. So luckily, we won't be doing this in this class at all. I wish I was in person. I could like draw a derivation on the board, just like show you guys sort of what it's about. But it's not what we're going to be doing this semester at all. We will be doing some informal logic. This is just really important for doing philosophy at all. So like next lecture is going to be just about informal logic, and it's going to be just a primer on informal logic. And this is going to be very, 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 very important for your success for the rest of the semester. You're going to need to know what premises are, what soundness and validity are, what it means for a conclusion to follow from premises. We're also going to be covering 10 fallacies that I think are important and that everybody should try to avoid in their thinking and reasoning and arguing. So that's just to say, be ready for that. We will be doing that. All right, lastly, we have what's called value theory. This is where we will be spending most of the time this semester, sort of in this area. This includes moral philosophy, includes aesthetics, political philosophy, philosophy of law, and a lot of other subfields. it's kind of a catch-all term for areas that aren't strictly metaphysics, epistemology, or logic. But everything that is included under value theory is going to be like examining the nature of value in some respects. So in moral philosophy, most like ethical theories, they examine, they have a theory of the good and the bad, and then they have a theory of the right and wrong. They tend to derive right action from their theories of the good, unless it's a duty-based theory, which we'll talk about. Same thing in aesthetics, like aesthetics analyzes, what beauty is, what the sublime is, and what's good about it, if there's anything good about it. So it's just to say, like, value is going to be like, this sort of notion of value is central to these areas. Okay. So that sort of completes just like a general introduction to different areas of philosophy. I'm going to end, this is the last slide, I'm going to end by just talking about what you guys need to do. I'm sorry I didn't have this up earlier, things got in the way. And like I said, I recorded this lecture once and it did not save my recording, so hopefully this time it will save. I will be very upset if it doesn't. There should be a quiz posted to Canvas, like within 5 or 10 minutes of me posting this to Canvas. Complete this quiz. It's just on the syllabus for participation and attendance for the first class meeting. So I'm filling out the banner web tomorrow at 5 p.m. So please do it before then. That's 1/19. So Wednesday. I'm required to report to banner web attendance and participation. I have to do it. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to give you guys a little extra time. The sooner you do it, the better. But please do it. I mean, do it by tomorrow, or you're going to be marked absent. That's just, I'll just tell you guys that. I'll be following up this video either tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning, just on a crash course in informal logic. It will be a lot, and it'll be a little weird. You may need to watch it twice. I'll also have a handout attached to it. But please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm available. And yeah, have a good day. Thank you.